Hard Hat Hockey. Welcome in for the debut of our faces. We're on video now. I've got a face. Grant has a face. I'm coming to you as always from the West Coast. Just got back from Monterey. What a beautiful part of the country. Just discussed with Grant. Pebble Beach, highly recommend if you've never been. There is a quick $12 fee to drive through the neighborhood. Well worth it. Many stops along the way. A lot of sea lions, a lot of natural rocks. A memorial to John Denver. Nice touch. Highly recommend. And also, the San Jose Sharks had their charity golf tournament there just before the season started in close proximity. So that was really cool. Grant, what's up with you, babe?
I'm coming from, I think, vibes wise, probably the exact opposite of Pebble Beach. I just got back from Cleveland, Ohio. The missus and I went up there for a quick trip. There's a band playing at the House of Blues that we really like. So we made it a short trip, but I had to laugh a little bit. You're talking about how beautiful your weekend was. Got up to Cleveland, immediately started raining, immediately started to get down to like 50 degrees. I don't think we saw the sun at all. But we had a great time. Gassed some beers at the map room. Shout out to the map room. It was a good trip, but I'm home now. Dogs have been tired out from a nice off day. It's a day off work. Trent, I have a quick icebreaker for you. What do you prefer better, a Monday off work or a Friday off work?
Gotta be a Friday off work.
Okay.
Actually,
That feels
no.
more fun. That feels like if you're like a fun guy, you take a bit. But I find I'm more satisfied. Like waking up today, granted, I had to drive back from Cleveland, Columbus to Cleveland. I've done that drive a million times. It's not bad, but it's still, time in a car. I feel like I'm more satisfied. And then you have a short week, the rest of
Yeah,
the work week,
I'm gonna change my answer actually as I've gotten older. I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
Monday. You're making a lot of sense, and Sunday scaries get pushed back a day. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I'm going Monday.
Yeah. It's that short week is great. But I'm been back from Phoenix. My temperature, my body temperature is reached homeostasis. I'm back to normal
Good word.
Rust Belt weather. And then hitting the road again. I'll be in Philadelphia this week, Trent. So I don't know if
Okay.
we're gonna talk any Flyers, but I'll be near John Tortorella. There's non-0% chance I run into my guy. So who
And
knows?
he's gonna sense your presence. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Folks, we are so excited. It's almost like a magic trick coming around on Halloween that we are now on your screen on some kind of displays, whether it be social media, or you're watching us on your cell phone, or just a standard desktop. We're not just those random voices on your car speakers anymore. Now you can actually see us. You can put a face to the name. Build a little rapport with us. Maybe you'll actually reach out now, tell your friends, and let us know what you think about your teams this season. We will comment back and give you some stock tips for a stock tip in return. Coming right up just after Hockey Team Kaboom, though, wouldn't be our debut of video without a little Hockey Team Kaboom, a little razzle dazzle. Grant, this week's category, Halloween candy. Okay, when you're thinking about this, it's not your favorite candy. It's Halloween. Think if you're trick or treating. What do I want to see in that bag? Okay, so out of the gate, I got candy corn, a small pyramid shaped candy with a waxy texture and a flavor based on honey, sugar, butter, and vanilla.
Okay, that description's doing candy corn way better than it deserves credit for. As all those flavors sound delightful. It's become kind of trendy to hate on candy corn to now where it's kind of like cool and underrated to like it. If someone's just handing out just kind of like fresh candy corn, that's bad. I don't want to see that. That's like that's pretty low. That might be Buffalo Sabres low for my money. Cause like it's one thing to have that like in your house, or maybe your grandma's got it on like a tray, maybe you mix it with some peanuts. But I don't want someone just handing me loose candy corn. What do I do with that? That's pretty low. That's pretty bad. That's the Buffalo Sabres for me.
Yeah, the 0-3 Buffalo Sabres. Now 1-3. Mind me, 1-3 now. Okay,
Yeah.
Sour Patch Kids, a soft, chewy candy that are sour on the outside and sweet on the inside.
So this is probably a pretty popular one. This feels like a big young guy candy. I feel like the kids love the sourness
Mhm.
stuff. So with that kind of in mind, with the youth movement, I'm gonna go with the Anaheim Ducks.
Yep.
That's like that. You're gonna be hypercharged. You're gonna have the sugar rush. It might feel great for a little bit. I feel like you're probably gonna crash, but who knows? I think you're also somehow, I don't know how this makes it, similar branding in my eyes. Very classic, forward thinking colors, and it's bright and it's flashy.
Yeah. Yeah, and certainly they added the blue flavor not too long ago, so, nice addition there to Sour Patch Kids. Okay, finally, last but not least, Reese's Cup, a classic American candy that combines a peanut butter filling with milk chocolate. You know it, you love it. But think trick or treat version is probably just one as opposed to the two that you standard get.
Yeah, but hopefully, you get a couple of those throughout the night. A couple of different houses might have it, so you
Sure.
might end up with more. This is classic chocolate peanut butter. Who doesn't love this? It's also Halloween. There's no risk of this melting. That's the only issue you have with Reese cups. But this is offense. This is defense. This is chocolate. This is peanut butter. Um, this is the Colorado Avalanche. They're gonna be okay. I know they have it, but we're kind of losing the bit of the metaphor with the way the season started. But this is a well-rounded treat. That is
I
what the
do
Colorado Avalanche are.
I appreciate you addressing that to me. I need that
Yeah,
right now after these first two games, and we're going to talk
yeah.
about that very very soon. Are you ready for the stock market? Because I am.
I'm ready. That was tough for me because I notoriously, as a kid, hated Halloween. I hated candy. I hated talking to strangers. You didn't know that when you made this, though. So I'm happy
No,
I kind of fought through that. I didn't like Halloween until I got to college. It was just like a party. I was like, oh, okay, I get why everyone
oh,
loves this.
now I
But
like Halloween.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Did you go trick or treating as an 18-year-old?
Hey, 18-year-old. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that.
Okay. Stock market out of the gate. A couple stocks I'm looking at, not necessarily buying or selling. Who's hot? Dallas, Vegas, and Utah. Unfortunately, as we're recording this, Utah literally just lost their first game, 3-0 at the hands of the New Jersey Devils. Jersey, I'm now adding them. They're hot, 4-1. Two of those wins, though, coming on the road in Prague, as we discussed against the Buffalo Sabres. So
Points still count.
how hot is hot? We'll find out, but they're hot so far. Dallas, Vegas, though, certainly looking the part. Ashamed that was a first round matchup this past year. I feel like both of those teams could have gone farther and probably deserved a little bit more, especially on Vegas's part. I will give them that compliment. And yeah, Dallas, it's going to be tough. That Western Conference. What about who's not? Like we mentioned, the Sabres. They're now 1-3, as we discussed. How about the Edmonton Oilers? How about the Colorado Avalanche? You got two perennial cup contenders who have been in the top 5 cup standings for the last 5+ years. And out of the gate, there's not a win between the two teams, not one victory.
Connor
Um,
McDavid has not scored yet, Trent.
it's
He hasn't
it,
found the back of the net.
Granted, it is October. I'm not going to be that
I,
fan who, takes
I'm not
any.
overreacting. We
Yeah,
saw this from the Oilers last year, but the season's here, and we want to talk about it. And it's not hilarious. That's not the right word, but everybody and their brother, probably including us, without us probably realizing it, we're picking Edmonton to just be the best team ever,
yep,
almost.
yep.
And here we are, 3 games into it with a -12 goal differential, and it's early. There's plenty of time to get this figured out, but you can't script this. Hockey, that's kind of what makes it beautiful. Is you can't just plow through games with talent alone. Like things happen, pucks bounce. Real quick, Trent, did you see the news today that the fight at Buffalo's practice?
Yeah, Peyton Krebs and Darlene, wasn't it? Rasmus
Their
Darlene.
captain, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, got a
And
little fisticuffs. Yeah,
I, that's not great fights in practice, but they do happen. I think they happen way more than fans probably like realize.
hmm
And if there's a team that maybe needed a little bit of spark and a little bit of pop, it's probably the Sabres.
yeah,
So
I would
I
agree.
think Lindsay's quote was something like "Boys will be boys." I think was it like legitimately. I think he said that.
Yeah, if you're a
So
fan of the Sabres, you'd probably love to see it. Right into the stock that I'm buying. A little vague here, but it's going to be the vibes of Utah. Utah vibes currently scoring at a clip of 5.3 goals per game. That's good for second in the NHL, only behind the New York Rangers. Of course, having a very high average out of the gate after the shellacking they gave to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Utah took down Chicago at home for that home opener. We can talk about that. I thought it was a great presentation, a great start for the quote unquote new franchise.
It looked fun. It looked very fun.
It looked a lot of fun. Islanders in OT, that was on the road. They took down the Rangers in a comeback win in overtime, also on the road.
That game was on the road.
Great game. I got it written here. They got the semi-line brawl in the Rangers game, showing a lot of fight for a young team with guys like Keller and Guenther. Dylan Guenther, I don't know if you remember a couple weeks ago, we were questioning if that deal was maybe out kicking his coverage a little bit because he was pretty unproven. He hadn't really shown that he was worth $7 million. Woo! 5 goals in 3 games.
He's showing up.
He's showing up. I like the start. I certainly like the start. So I think wouldn't worry about them too much with the loss today in Jersey. They're bound to lose on an East Coast road trip. You're not going to go undefeated on that kind of a road trip. But great start, and certainly just recall here, I did pick them to make the playoffs as a reminder.
You did. I believe I was not that bold. Were the Coyotes always just a year away? Like,
all they needed was a New Jersey, man. It's just a New Jersey with some mountains on it.
I guess so. There's no justice in this world. But it's fun to see. It's still fun to see.
Let's talk about that game for a second. It was a good environment. Just even watching on TV, it looked like a lot of fun. We've talked about the shortcomings of Delta Center. They've done a nice job of being very humble about it and just accepting and being honest and transparent with the fans about the obstructed views. It would be worse if the management was not transparent with fans and tried to hide, tickets that obviously had obstructions.
And they're selling those at a lower cost.
Right.
They're giving them a name like 1 goal seats or something like that.
And they also got other seats that aren't necessarily available at other NHL arenas. You sent me a video of those corner seats.
So look this up if you're a listener or viewer, but it's like, I mean, this is an arena built for basketball. So if you think of like a basketball floor is flat and you want to cram as many people close to that as you can for like the experience. Hockey, you're got to back out a little bit, and then you have like walls and nets and obstruction. So the first deck, like, I don't know how to really describe this because it's not like an upper deck, but it kind of looks that way because there's not a floor seat beneath it. So it's still like the lower tier, has this like corner that is basically hanging over the
height of the
walls.
Glass.
Yeah, it's the height of the glass. You're sitting at the height of the glass.
Yeah, it's as if your club suite was moved forward at the glass level.
I was shocked.
It's in play essentially. My first reaction was fans who sit there need to sign a waiver. They
might be. They're locked. You're not on your phone if you're sitting there.
But kudos to Utah all around.
They're off to a great start. Did you see the crazy like beer sales?
Yes.
Utah state not known for its alcohol consumption, but you're in the big city, so you get a little bit more free and loose with that. If that's the vibe that they're going for, if that's what they're going to do, I'll tune in.
I think it was 120,000 in beer sales on night 1. So
I mean, there just a group of people that have had to relocate to Salt Lake City for whatever reason, and now they're just like, finally, hockey and just light beer.
Well, thinking about for an arena that holds 10,000 people, that's fantastic sales. Hopefully they keep that up.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the stock that I'm selling, Grant. No surprise, hopefully. Avs goaltending. The situation currently is bleak. It is not good. And tonight against the Islanders, Alexander Georgiev is back in the net. We'll see how that goes. Expected goals is an advanced stat that I pay particular attention to. It does not paint the whole picture, but part of it. And it gives you an idea of where your shortcomings are coming from. So essentially, there's an algorithm in place that puts a weight on every shot against. The higher danger shots obviously have a higher weight, and the lower danger shots, your shots from the boards farther away, have a lower weight, and that
Low
spits out a
probability
low
scoring
probability of
chance.
scoring, right? And that spits out a number that determines the Colorado Avalanche expects this many goals against. In the first game against the Vegas Golden Knights, the defensive play of the Avs was pretty good from the fans' eye view. The expected goals against was calculated to be 1.5. However, they let up 8. That's a problem. Against Columbus, the expected goals against 1.4. They let up 6. That's a problem. Their save percentage currently is 68%. Against low danger scoring chances, Grant, not high danger, low danger, Georgiev's save percentage is 560. That's a problem. We've let up 14 goals against on 44 shots. By far and away, we are in last place by a country mile in every single one of these stats in the crease right now. I don't know how to fix it other than it's a confidence issue and goalies are weird. Because it's unfortunate too because the Avs are actually playing well, scoring 4 goals a game, and defensively not letting up a crazy amount of unnecessary chances. The goaltending is just abysmal.
It's early. It's low sample size is probably working. I mean, it's been 2 games. I know you don't want to start the year 0-2, but there's 80 more games left for the Avs. I think they're going to be okay. But if there's ever a position where it's impossible not to overreact to like goalie play because it just feels so out of your hands as a fan, 1, but 2, it just feels so like it's like in baseball, like a closer is bad or like you have a bad bullpen. You're like, well, what can we even do if that's the backstop that we're working with on these games? They can feel demoralizing, but I think it's going to be okay. It just takes 1 game to turn that around.
Sure,
is what I would say.
It's a fickle position. That's why we've always talked on this pod about being so against long-term deals for goalies. So, unless they really show out and prove themselves. So, all right, let's move on to the transaction train station. And real quick, I don't want to take anything away from the CBJs. That was a good win on their part. It's not to take away from the victory, just for the record. All right, transaction train station. Out of the gate, we're a little late on this one. Jeremy Swayman and the Boston Bruins came together in synchronous harmony. They landed the plane. Short runway there. I thought we were going to taxi off for a second, but we did not. 8 years, $8.25 million, and already out of the gate, he is delivering. 2 games played, 2 wins, .914 save percentage, and 2.44 goals against average. The stats will change after today, however, as he just started and they lost to the Florida Panthers. So we'll update there. Regardless, Swayman will deliver. I'm glad they got this done. He's a Boston boy through and through.
And famously did not start game 1. We had Korpisalo versus Bobrovsky to start the night off. Well, no, not even start the night off, but it was an opening night for those 2 teams. And yes, Swayman came across looking very good. No disrespect to Korpisalo. But that was tough.
Wasn't the ideal start there for Korpisalo?
No, not my guy, dude. Famously, in 2019, it was like Bob's like last year here, and like we knew he wasn't coming back. And I remember just being like, "No, start Corpy then. Like he's just as good." He had his moments that year, but time has not reflected well on that particular take.
I wonder if Swayman doesn't start 70 games.
It's a lot of games.
I mean, seriously though, do you think they're going to trust Korpisalo in there? I don't.
Yeah, I think just by the nature of the Bruins organization, they have to do the whole like, hey, as a team, we can make this work. That's just their nature. Like I don't think they're gonna. I don't know, like who are the goalies over time that like were like, yeah, he's 75 games.
Oh, geez. Well,
DiPietro back in the day.
It used to be more of a thing. Now anymore, goalies hardly see 60. But it was much more of a tradition. Goalies playing the majority of the season. Backups were a forgotten thought.
It was a disaster. Something was awful. If a goalie, back. Yeah, like Marty Brodeur like played all the time. Yeah. I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Grant.
Maybe Swayman's a renaissance man. Maybe he brings that back.
I love Sway. I'm so glad he got this figured out in Boston. I know Matt Connolly is too. Shout out
We
to
kind of
Matty.
missed the window. Shout out to Matty. We kind of missed the window to talk about the Amazon series, but I really love Swayman's dad in that show.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's great. We can
amazing.
talk about it when we get to housekeeping. We can plug it in there.
Okay, yeah.
All right, let's knock out. We got a couple more deals. We can fly through this pretty quick. Tyson Berry, 1 year, 1.25 million. He's 33. Immediate opportunity in Calgary for a top 4 defensive spot. So he'll get some playing time that he hasn't had the last couple seasons. I hope he does well. He used to play for the Avs. Kevin LeBlanc, love this deal for the CBJs.
Big fan.
1 year,
Big fan of this move.
775K. Have you seen rewards yet? Has this paid off?
I mean, we knew, again, everything we talk about the CBJ is going to be kind of through the lens of the loss of Johnny Gaudreau. We knew we needed a little bit more in the forward group as the preseason went on. General Manager Don Waddell kind of mentioned that, like, hey, we're going to probably find some guys late in this. I'm pretty, he's a bottom 6 guy. Like, it's not, transformational about like how we're playing, but he's part of a group that's playing really well right now, just across the board.
I only remember LeBlanc as a fast and effective player who was on the Sharks roster when they were good. So
yeah,
that's why I like
very
the
well
move.
said.
He was a part of very good teams. So I think it's will definitely add some depth where it's needed. Niels Hoglander signs with Vancouver, 3 years, about $3 million. He's been in that system for a long time. This is kind of the bridge to hopefully a bigger, brighter number for him after this 3-year deal. He had 36 points in 80 games last season, already 2 points out of the gate and 2 points this season. He's only 23. Bright future here. I like his future in Vancouver. Max Pacioretty gets it done with Toronto. 1 year, $873,000. Let's hope he stays healthy and hopefully he can still produce. Going to be tough in the Atlantic Division. Carter Verhaeghe, 8 years, $7 million. Florida Panthers. Strategic announcement here, conveniently right after the home opener. You know this was already done. You know it was already signed, and they announced it on social media after the victory of Game 1 over the Boston Bruins. Huge deal here. The back half of this deal may not look great, but right now, who cares? This guy is so clutch. The playoff goals that we saw rang throughout Fort Lauderdale at a minimum, if not the entire state of Florida. Sorry, my Tampa Bay fans. Verhaeghe is a baller, and they are very lucky to have him at this price right now.
It plays.
Linus Ullmark making friends early in Ottawa. He likes to trade, Grant. He wants to stay with the Ottawa Senators for 4 more years, $8.25 million. Love to see it. A guy I know Boston,
same number as Swayman.
Probably struggled to lose him. Probably, going to miss Ullmark this season, as we just talked about. They don't have that insurance policy anymore. They had 2 starting goaltenders last season. That was bound to break up. They break up the band, and he goes to Ottawa, and is going to get a lot of playing time there. So good for him. Seems like a great guy. I really enjoyed the relationship between Ullmark and Swayman last year. Finally,
it's very funny they have the same number, 8.25.
8.25. You think they were just texting each other back and forth?
100%. Yeah.
Finally, news out of Seattle. Some good news here. Joey Dackert, I'm a big fan. 5 years by $5 million. I think this ages very well. You're going to see the likes of Philip Grubauer's the starter. I think it's going to be more of an even split this season. Hopefully, Joey Dackert steps up, and it's more of a 1A, 1B situation. They're certainly going to need it. Seattle's going to have some tough games ahead in a Pacific division that we talked about. Only got better. Seems like every division got better. Okay, that's it for the train station. Let's Parker for the weekend. Let's go to NHL housekeeping. Get your Swiffers, get your brims. Folks, if you're new with us, this is where we clean it up. Okay, all the details of the nooks and crannies of the league is what we talk about right now. The opening games in Prague, Czech Republic, not well marketed. Featured the New Jersey Devils versus the Buffalo Sabres. I'm not going to harbor on this too long because we already are a week removed from this. However, just a general note for the NHL, if you're going to open a series in Europe, let's market it a little better, and let's not put the games on NHL Network where the majority of your fans can't even watch it. I don't understand that.
That's Grant, a bigger part. What you said there at the end is very I don't have NHL Network. I think it's on Fubo. I had
Right.
Fubo 3 years ago. I didn't really love it. I'm not really chomping at the bit to go down that path again. But Buffalo is a great TV market. Their fans, anytime you look at like TV ratings of like cities that watch the most hockey or the most playoffs, like Buffalo's near the top of that. So maybe they're saying, hey, our diehards are gonna tune in when they need to. The Devils are obviously close to the New York market. I don't know. I wasn't at the boardroom when they decided to send these two teams to Prague, but they're growing the game. They want to have a presence in Europe. I know the Jackets and Avs went over there a couple of years ago. So I think there's probably going to be more of this. But yeah, what can you say? It does feel just like off a little bit because it starts, but then it doesn't, and then ESPN and TNT are roll in with their big marketing and their big push, and they're able to get it in front of people. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe you're asking one of the big networks to carry it as opposed to doing it in house.
Let's prioritize the fans moving forward. I think is my closing statement there.
Yeah, you're
All
out of
right,
your
Grant.
mind.
Get it's like the poor Coyotes fans right now. I've been seeing the saddest tweets from them. Speaking of those fans, so not only did they get the team of their life ripped out from under them, but also the Utah hockey games are blacked out for them. They can't even watch them. So for those fans who are just hanging on to an unhealthy relationship, they can't even enjoy it if they wanted to.
Well, even if you're like, a student at ASU, which I mean, I'm sure they're able to get like their workarounds on that. But like, if you're just like a person in Arizona, it's like, I want to watch some hockey, and you can't even get them. I mean, this is insane. Nothing should be blacked out in Arizona right now.
Especially for these poor people who just they need a win. All right, Grant.
Yeah.
Diamond Sports Group is close to a naming and brand rights agreement with FanDuel. Here to discuss more about this sports business situation is our sports business insider, Grant Miller.
Okay, Trent, I'm going to try to keep this light. I'm going to try to keep this direct because I could really start to lose the forest amongst the trees when we start talking about Diamond Sports Group. No one has had a bigger impact in a negative way on my sports viewing than the fine folks at Diamond Sports Group. I know there's a lot of great sports broadcasters and talented people behind the scenes that make Bally, the presentation all work. All the respect in the world to you folks. I'm talking about the boardroom and the C-suite that has kind of ruined regional sports broadcasting. And you might argue that model was already going to be headed towards disaster. And maybe there's some truth to that, but this has been a debacle since day one. Bally Sports was the branding choice by the folks at Diamond Sports Group. So I want to get a couple of things really quick. Diamond Sports Group is owned by a company called Sinclair. You know about Sinclair without knowing about them. They probably own and operate some local news channels in your city. And here in Columbus, I think it's like the Fox and ABC affiliate are Sinclair. They also own the Tennis Channel and a couple like over-the-air TV channels. I say that to say it's not exactly very high-end marketing or content. It's kind of bargain bin. So Diamond Sports Group is the subsidiary that is owning the carcass that was in Ohio known as like Fox Sports Net. This is what I watched the Blue Jackets and the Reds and the Cleveland Cavaliers on when I was a kid. It was channel 29 on Time Warner. You knew that's where your team was belonging. When Walt Disney, the mouse, and Fox combined forces in 2018, the government stepped in and said, okay, you can't also own the regional sports broadcasters like Fox Sportsnet because that's a monopoly. That's bad. Sinclair, Diamond Sports Group come in. They buy the properties. They begin to own it. They chose Bally to be the kind of branding of this new network because they wanted to cash in on what they saw as the future gravy train of sports gambling. They wanted to infuse the TV broadcast presentation with the Bally Sportsbook, Bally, gambling aspect. So you could watch the game and see live odds. You can go to your phone on the Bally app and gamble. I don't know if you know this, Trent, the kind of concrete set on that. There's FanDuel and there's DraftKings. Maybe you're a BetMGM person if you're in Vegas. But those are really it. Bally's on the outside looking in. A lot of these sports books are like contracting, being bought by bigger ones. And that's what we're seeing here now, that supposedly it's not fresh yet. It's not official, but Bally's out, and it's now going to be called something along the line of like FanDuel Sports Network. Here in Columbus at Nationwide Arena, they got rid of like the Bally signage in Nationwide Arena. Right now it's still called Bally, but that is supposedly probably going to change because I don't think any of this is going well. On top of all of this, Diamond Sports Group is still in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. If you're hearing this, you're probably familiar with Chapter 9 bankruptcy. That's where like things fall apart, liquidated, and the company's gone. Chapter 11 is a little different. Chapter 11 allows you to operate your business while you go through the process of trying to become profitable, but knowing that you're going to have to make some significant changes. The big thing with what happened with all of this, and again, I don't want to get too lost into it, but in 2020, YouTube TV, Hulu TV, and Fubo dropped what would become Bally Sportsnet from their channel option. So if you had any one of those services, you could not watch Bally. Diamond Sports Group comes out and says, don't worry, we're going to have a direct-to-consumer streaming option. If you had one of these cord-cutting services, don't worry. We're going to get a service up and running for the new season, and you're going to be able to give us $20 a month, and you're going to be able to watch it. It took a year and a half for that service to be operational across the board so that fans could watch their teams. So they missed an entire year of content. And if you didn't have Xfinity or Spectrum, your classic cable providers, you were in the dark and you weren't going to be able to watch your team. And that's kind of been the MO from this. Other providers have dropped Bally at this point, and we've talked about this over the course of the year, that other teams like Dallas has their own service now, Victory Plus.
Grant, something I messaged you this week, and my biggest concern was I favor the local broadcast much more than the national. I realize the national broadcasts on TNT and ESPN alike have done a great job in growing the game, especially the last 2 seasons, respectively. However, I do appreciate the intimate knowledge base and the more regional grassroots feel that, for instance, an altitude broadcast has for the Colorado Avalanche, or even a NESN in Boston. It just seems that whenever it's the local guys, they are very in tune with the chemistry of the team, the pulse of the team. And that's
Absolutely.
why this upsets me.
Yeah, and I think that's a very common thread through all of this is, our generation, like you and I, we grew up just with our guys, man. I mean, Jeff Rimmer just retired in Columbus, and he was synonymous with the Blue Jackets. But like where we're headed is just kind of unprecedented. They got to get this ironed out because there's just some markets that are just in the dark right now, and some aren't, and that's what kind of makes it hard because the NHL is not going to step in and just say, "Hey, we're just going to take control of every TV production," because, like you said, like NESN in Boston does a really great job. So you can't look at everything and just say, well, we'll just cover it. So it's been a problem for like 4 years, basically. And it feels like we're finally kind of seeing the end of the light, but we're going to get used to some new branding. I don't think it's going to change the production value. I just had to re-download the Bally Sports app again to watch the CBJ. It's not my favorite app in the world. It's kind of clunky and not exactly user friendly, but it's how I got to watch the team. So that's where we're at.
If you're new to us, or if you're not new to us, if you haven't picked up on it already, our biggest concern is the entertainment of the fans. We want to make sure the fans have a good experience. That's why we're so sensitive to fans when they can't watch a game, blackout regional limitations with the current viewership deals, apps not being ready. That's currently what the Colorado Avalanche fans are dealing with. The altitude app is just not ready. Things like that where we need to start taking care of our fans a little bit more if we're going to be serious about being a larger league in North America, and it's growing. But we need to fit the bill, if you will. Big time players and big time moments, right? Show up and perform. Okay, Grant, you mentioned the word unprecedented. I'm going to piggyback off that. The quote of the week is from ESPN: unprecedented and highly unique situation. That, of course, in reference to Robin Lehner's situation with the Vegas Golden Knights. Surprise, surprise, they are magically above the cap as the season begins. If you recall, a couple weeks ago, they were $4 million below it. Robin Lehner's contract, exactly $4 million, is not going to be on the books this season. He will be getting paid, however, which begs the question, what actually is happening? We don't know. There is zero transparency, as is normal, as is tradition out west. The contract will not count against the cap, but he will still be paid. Out of the gate, my thoughts are this more than likely is a situation where personally Robin Lehner probably made poor life choices. And
we don't know
whatever,
that. We don't
know for sure, but for whatever reason, he's not allowed in the city of Vegas, is my understanding. That's per Elliot Friedman. So because of that, that does lead me to believe that there is some personal decision making there that has forbidden him from the city in which he was supposed to play hockey. Again, I don't know for sure, but that's how it reads. Given
he hasn't played in a lot of years. Contract's a contract, and he signed it, and Vegas agreed to it. So, you have to kind of honor that a little bit. But we're talking about a guy who hasn't played in a few years, and does anyone pick him up, or do you think this is kind of it for him?
No, I think this is it. I don't know how you could with that contract. I don't know why you would. But no, this is it. So yeah, there could be personal aspects of play here with Robin Lehner's side. There could be more cap circumvention, obviously, with Vegas' side. Again, want to stress this. Don't know for sure. Just trying to read between the lines with what we have been given. Speaking of cap circumvention, though, you made a great point. Texted me this week. Edmonton Oilers are exploiting the long-term IR. Vander Kane, $5 million deal. With him on LTIR, they are now $1 million above the cap floor. Just below the cap ceiling, making them legal to play in NHL games. Do you think there's some exploitation there?
I think this is what it takes to be a cup contender in the NHL these days. You got to play this fast and loose. I think the timing of it is peculiar. I mean, if we're going to talk about the Knights to the extent that we have, we at least have to mention moments like this where it's like 2 weeks before the season, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like Kane's out. Oh, it's a really bad injury."
Yeah, they don't seem too heartbroken over the Kane surgery, and the timing of the Kane surgery was very peculiar as well. They definitely seem more than ready to start the season without him. So interesting out of the Edmonton camp.
And maybe they need him. Maybe he's the missing ingredient.
Maybe they're 0-3. All right, a couple leadership opportunities coming up. Clayton Keller was named the captain of Utah. I'd say that's working out. We talked about the vibes in Game 1. It's only carried through into Game 4. Even today, they are playing very well. Jordan Eberle was named captain of the Seattle Kraken and showing his worth, 3 points in 3 games. Who doesn't have 3 points in 3 games, however, is Matty Beniers. Matty Beniers will be the pinnacle of that Seattle Kraken offense. He currently has 0 points, which leads me to my next point. Jessica Campbell, the first woman to coach a game in the NHL. She is the assistant coach hired over the offseason. If I'm Jessica Campbell, I am getting in Matty Beniers' grill. You are our best player. You have to show up. The whole sophomore slump, entry-level contract, you're not making entry-level money anymore. You're making big boy money now. It's time to show up. 0 points in the first 3 games. Can't have it. We depend on you. It's time to show up, Matty Beniers, if that Seattle Kraken team is going to have a prayer of making the playoffs. But good for Jessica. That's awesome.
Great story. Great. I mean, not as great vibes as Utah. Obviously, it's a party in Salt Lake City. But Seattle, every time they're on my TV, I'm just like, man, that looks so awesome. Just everything they're doing.
Yeah. Really fun team to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. A little bit of news out of San Jose. Askarov, as you remember, the goaltender traded from Nashville to the San Jose Sharks because he wanted to be a starter. In Nashville, obviously, he would not have been. He will be starting the season in the AHL. Misleading tweet, it's due to injury. He has yet to practice with the squad. Fear not, my friends. He will be the starter by the end of the season, I promise you. Mackenzie Blackwood got the nod for that opening game. Very entertaining. I watched the first two periods where the Sharks took a 4-1 lead, fell asleep, woke up the next morning. Blues came back and won 5-4.
And yeah, dude, the Sharks got hit with some other bad injury news. I know that's on the next roundup, but just go right into it, man. With Celebrini, is that how you say that? Yeah.
Yep.
Hip injury. That's not great. He looked awesome against the Blues. I was really excited to see him play. Hip injuries are weird. You know, it's either like just give it rest and you're back, or it's like you're going to be dealing with that all year. And it's probably never going to feel 100% right. So that's a bummer because he's not a lot of great reasons to watch the Sharks, respectfully, unless you're a big Sharks fan. He was one of them, though.
They are Celebrini certainly looks the part. If I can say anything about those first two periods, is that they may be young and dumb out of the gate, hence giving up 4 unanswered goals for the comeback victory. But they are fun. I mean, they are flying around. They got some stags out there that can seriously move and sling the puck around. And offensively, that power play is very cathartic, very electric. And I look for them to score a lot of goals, probably give up a lot of goals as well in the process, as we've seen already. Okay, out at New York Islanders camp, Grant, last season, July 1st, 2023, Pierre Engvall signed a 7-year by $21 million deal. Comes out to be $3 million per year. Big extension, a lot of money for a long period of time with the New York Islanders. Lou Lamoriello sometimes has a mind of his own. This season, October 6th, 2024, he's already been placed on waivers. 1 year into the 7-year deal, already put on waivers to be exposing the contract to every other NHL team. Not the best bit of business here. 28 points in 74 games last season with the Islanders. And for a team that leans heavily on older players, not a lot of youth to look forward to, this isn't what you want to hear.
No, it's not. They're a team that I don't really think I think they're struggling with like an identity right now. And I don't necessarily think like this move is emblematic of that necessarily, but like it's just more kind of like question marks through a team that I thought would have, especially like a guy like Lou in charge. I was like, okay, they're going to be like locked in. And that just doesn't seem like that's the game. I mean, locked in from like team identity, roster build standpoint. And it's kind of been up and down on the island right now. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a lot of takes on this, but it's still just like confounding that the Islanders seemingly kind of have a level of dysfunction with their identity and roster build when they did it for a little while. Maybe this is returning to the mean for them. Maybe the Tavares years were like an outlier.
My take is a little indirect. My take is Brock Nelson is on that team, and he is a fantastic center that is miscast on the wrong team. I look for him to be traded in the last year of his contract, and hopefully he goes to a contender where he can really show out on a team that's contending. Okay, moving right along, a little bit of business. The NHL draft will now be decentralized and hosted in Los Angeles next season. When I say decentralized, I mean the GMs and management of every team is typically present at their respective tables at the NHL draft. Now it will be like the NFL draft, if you are familiar, where all the GMs are at their own home station working remotely via phone calls if trades were to be made and calling in the draft picks to Commissioner Gary Bettman. I like this. I think this will serve less of a business stuffy atmosphere that the NHL draft probably has been, and be more centered around the fan experience. Hopefully that's what they're leaning towards, at least.
Yeah, I hope that's the route they go with it. I do kind of like when like the GMs have to like give the picks themselves. There's something about that always cracks me up. This is just going to increase the amount of Gary Bettman on my TV, which I mean I kind of like to avoid that if I can.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the newest and best tradition in this of this season, the 2024-25 season. Columbus Blue Jackets get their first victory of the year. Big win in Denver over the Colorado Avalanche, 6-4. Grant, would you like to take it from there?
Yeah, so a lot of teams do this where it's like after a win, they have like a item, like a hat or like a chain or just something that like you give to the players, give out themselves to like a player of the game sort of thing. And the guy who gets it usually does like a speech. For the past 6 years, 7 seasons, been a long time. The Jackets had like a Civil War era hat called the Kepi. It was pretty cool. I mean, it plays up that Civil War imagery. Um, the team does a good job of marketing that and presenting. They would always do videos in the locker room of like handing out the Kepi. They post on social. There's some really cool moments that have come from this. The teams took it a step higher this year. Jackets beat the Avs. Very exciting, very fun game. Go into the locker room. Boone Jenner obviously hurt. Zach Werenski steps up as the leader, addresses the team, says, guys, we're ditching the Kepi this year. We got this felt donkey hat that looks like kind of like a beanie with like a donkey head coming off the top. And it's got the logo on the side and a 13. And Zach just says, because Johnny called everybody a donkey. So if you do good, you have win, you get the donkey. And Zach gave it to Sean Monahan, obviously Johnny's best bud from Calgary, and they give it to him, and it's really great. Go look it up. Go look up the video. I can't do it justice. I sent it to Trent when I saw it. But Monahan's just like say like how thankful he is for everybody in Columbus to making him feel at home, and it's such a cool video that Sean has to go like do TV after, and he's still wearing it.
In the donkey hat.
Yeah, and Dave Metzold, he's a great guy from Bally Sports, was like, talk a little bit about the donkey hat, and Sean just kind of exactly says what Zach does, and he's like, John's probably like looking down right now, laughing at me, how silly I look, and it's cool. It's just again, like I think we have a really close team here in Columbus. That's what everyone's been saying so far, and this is just indicative of a locker room that's like coming together. They have, John's jersey up, hanging up in the locker room, whether they're home and away. It's prevalent on a lot of the social media stuff. So this is just like another thing for the team to kind of rally around a little bit.
Yeah, go check out that video. It is a tough watch. I warn you now.
And I think it's cool they gave it to Sean. I don't know if you also going with this, like, Kent Johnson had a great game. Zach had a great game himself. Monahan gets the empty netter against the Avs. It was like kind of like a 2-man into the empty net. Kirill Marchenko could have passed it into the net and win it. He lays it off to Sean to get Sean on the board and get him a goal. It was pretty cool. All of it was pretty exciting. I hope we talk a little bit about the game here.
Dude, Kent Johnson's good.
Put on some weight. He looks a little stronger. He's playing with some edge. He was a guy that was kind of like on the outs under the last regime.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And he's one of these guys. I mean, we're excited. He's one of these guys that if the Jackets are going to become playoff contenders in the next couple of years, he's a guy that's going to take the steps, start being a top 6, asset. He's a guy that's, he was a first round pick, and this is what you expect a first round pick. Mm-hmm. So we love to see it. We absolutely love to see it.
Is there a relation there to Mark Johnson?
I don't believe so, but he's a Michigan guy.
Yeah. Why? So yeah, I figured he was an American kid.
No, he's Canadian. He's
Canadian. Oh, that's
he's from British Columbia.
I don't know if our fans noticed today. Our first episode, I'm rocking the USA hockey polo.
They look sharp. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you're. Yeah. So he's not American then. That's fine. So no relation. All right. Moving right along. Goaltenders are breaking the market, Grant, with a Swayman drama. Obviously came to a head. Resolved. Thankfully, we talked about they landed their plane in Boston. Thank God. Igor Shesterkin is trying to flip the goalie market on its head in the most historical fashion. He was offered an $8 by $11 million deal, $88 million grand total. would have made him not only the highest paid goalie thus right now, but forever in the history that the league has seen, the highest goalie contract. He's not only trying to become the highest, clearly, he's trying to destroy it. He's trying to destroy the record for the number. I know initial rumors said 14 million. I don't know. I don't know how much higher he can go here realistically.
I don't know who can afford that.
I don't know who can afford it either. That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at. Like, who
Because
can afford a
11's a
$14 million
ton.
goalie? 11's a lot, man.
This is probably he's 28. He's earned a pay raise. He's
Sure.
earned a bump. He's making the best move he can for himself to get as much money here. If he thinks he can get, 12 instead of 11, fine. That's still getting to a point where it's like, I don't know who's taking that.
Yeah, like we talked about with the Rangers, though, man. As soon as they sign this cup window, what was it? It's gonna eat so much of that space.
Yeah, and the cap will go up. But I don't know if it'll go up enough to
Not fast enough.
no to justify that. Oh man, the Mets are killing the Dodgers. Sorry, I just got a glimpse of the
And it's
score
okay.
there.
We're all
Uh,
sports friendly here.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is how much is left on his is this his contract year
This is
right
his
now?
contract year. Yeah, this is
So
it.
okay, so all of this is gonna kind of like hang over the season, um, a little bit. They're probably good enough that it won't become too much of a distraction. But I don't know. It's a tough spot because he is so good, and he's probably responsible for the Rangers' success more so than like Swayman is in Boston. Um, the only I think the comp for me with him has always been Bobrovsky. He gives me, and I maybe that's just lazy thinking on my end because they're both Russian, but like I feel like he's as important to them as Bob was in Columbus or Bob is in Florida. Um, and sometimes teams like that do win the cup,
Hmm.
but I feel like more often than not, it's usually like you get your value at the goalie position so that you can spend your money elsewhere and make this the team as a whole bigger. Um,
Yeah,
but if the Rangers think that they got him, they got their guy, and they're not going to win without him. But we kind of saw them do that with Lundqvist, and it didn't work out. So what are we
it
doing here?
it will be fascinating to watch. Certainly feels like a situation where the Rangers need to win right now because this number is going to be huge and eat up a lot of the cap space, as we've said. All right, let's wrap up housekeeping. We're going to go into quick flash points with our preseason primers that we had remaining. Obviously, not the preseason anymore. That's why we're going to spend minimal time on it. And we do apologize for the delay. Calgary Flames out of the gate finished fifth in the Pacific Division last season. Key forwards this year: Jonathan Huberdeau, 31, 10.5 million. He's off to a nice start. Nazem Kadri's 34, 7 million. Andrei Kuzmenko, he's 28, makes 5.5. And then ELC contracts, Connor Zary, Sam Hunzik, and Matt Coronado. Look for those guys to get a lot of time this season and certainly step up with more opportunity on a team that needs some help. Key defensemen, you got Mackenzie Weegar at 30 years old, 6.25 million. Rasmus Anderson, 27, 4.55 million. And then they brought in Jake Bean and Tyson Berry, who are already catapulted into a top four opportunity there. In goal, Dan Vlader and Dustin Wolf. Dustin Wolf is a big time prospect for them. Even though he was a seventh round pick, I know he's got a very high ceiling. So definitely look for him to make strides. Combined 96 games of experience between the two of them in net. They have a lot of draft capital, 2 first round and 2 second round picks, and in this season alone. So my keys for them are rearm and regroup. You got two guys in Kuzmenko and Anthony Mantha that are on their contract year. Those are two guys that you can get a return for approaching the trade deadline. This is not the time to try to make some run and battle for a wild card spot. You see these ages. You got Nazem Kadri at 34. No time to try to spend, sell, reevaluate, get some assets, get some capital, and we'll live to fight another day. I've got them eighth in the Pacific Division.
Yeah, I don't think that. Well, ooh, is that below the Sharks?
Yep,
Ooh,
you heard it.
okay,
Yep,
wow,
I took some hot takes this season, Grant.
yeah. I had to think about that. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But they're off to a three. It's hard right now because they're 3-0. So
I know they're 3-0.
it
It's
makes
totally making me bite my tongue.
yeah. But
Yeah,
they're playing inspired too. I mean, everything we talk about the Jackets of losing Goudreau, like a lot of that's going to apply with Calgary for this year as well because they had a great. Did you see the um kind of celebration video they had for him
oh yeah,
for the home opener where they
yeah, it
shot
was
like
great.
the light would like spotlight a area of the ice as like the goals that they were showing on the video screen. So like the ice was shining like where Johnny was when he like scored a goal. So pretty creative, pretty cool like use of um kind of the ice and lights and everything like that. So
Right.
I'll be rooting for Calgary as this year goes on. Again, I don't think I just think things will find a level where they start dropping points. But if off to a hot start right now, and these points matter. Trent and I always talk off pod, and this is something we're going to kind of hit on as the season starts. If you're in playoff position around USA Thanksgiving or USA Christmas, dude, you're in a great spot. You just banked a lot of points. So if they're hovering close to it, who's to say?
I'm still looking for that stat, Grant. It's something absurd when if you're in a playoff position post Thanksgiving, the odds of you making the playoffs are something like 60 or 70%. I
Yeah,
can't quote it right now. I need to find the stat. I will find it.
it's something like 3/4 of the teams that are in playoff position come Christmas end up in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Like
it
it's
doesn't
something like
move.
that. Yeah,
It doesn't
if you
hardly move.
there's one or two spots might flip, but it's a grind if you're not in a playoff spot by Christmas.
Yeah,
And it's October 14th right now. It's Indigenous People Day. It's Canadian Thanksgiving. That it's gonna fly by. Like it's
yeah.
gonna fly by. So if you get your points when you can, you're in a great spot. +7 goal differential. Again, I think the lack of depth is gonna end up, catching up to him. But shout out to him right now.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's go over to Vancouver. What a beautiful town. If you've never been, go. Stanley Park is a phenomenal place to grab a beer and be next to Rogers Arena. The
Oh,
city
that
is
sounds delightful.
is just incredible. We stayed on Horseshoe Bay and had a beautiful view of the city and great food, great drinks, great city. Highly recommend.
They're hosting World Cup games in 2026 when North
I
America's
saw that.
hosting the World Cup.
Yeah,
That's a sneaky good
that's
spot
a
to
sneaky
go.
ticket. I'm
Yep.
not above it. I'll go. Um,
Maybe we
speaking of
plan that.
a well-constructed city, this is probably one of my favorite, most well-constructed forward cores in the league. You got Elias Pettersson's 25, 11.6 million. Had some woes in the playoffs, probably led root cause there. I'm assuming it's the injury. I don't
Mhm.
foresee that playing out again this season. I think he'll be much more of a factor come playoff time because let's be real, they're going to the playoffs. JT Miller's 31, 8 million. Brock Besser, 27. Last year of his $6.65 million deal, very interested to see what they do with this piece. Brock's been a long time Vancouver Canuck. Jake DeBrusque comes over, 27 years old. He signs a $5.5 million deal. Connor Garland's 28, $5 million. A lot of great forwards there and a lot of depth too in guys like Teddy Bluger, Niels Hoglander, we talked about earlier. He's a young guy who's been with them for a long time. Daniel Sprong at $900,000 is a guy who could play on a second line for another team, but they have him in a depth position. That's lethal. They can score
Yeah.
from all over the place. Defense, Quinn Hughes is 25. Your guy, 7.85 million.
My guy,
Corona,
and he looked so good on the Amazon
dude, I was just gonna say in
series.
episode 4, the Landeskog, Quinn Hughes episode, Jake
Yeah.
Trouba episode, the
I
Mark
wanted
Messier
to
winner.
yeah. I want to get Quinn some stainless steel pans. He was making himself a nice lunch. I
Yeah,
don't
he
know what he
was.
was using, but I was like, I want to send him some stainless steel.
Haley and
Uh
I
yeah.
noticed next to his kitchen was an infrared sauna. Very nice touch. Just
Ooh, taking
yeah,
care of himself.
nice touch to the kitchen. And where he lives in Vancouver, we walked right by. It's like this little island in the middle of downtown. Beautiful spot. Uh, Quinn Hughes, we talked about. Philip Roenick, 26 years old, signed a big deal, 8 years over the summer. Carson Soucy's 30, $3.25 million. Tyler Myers is 34, $3 million. We talked about their forward depth, goalie depth. Artur Shilovs and Kevin Lankinen brought in recently, and then Artur Shilov signs his 2-year deal over the summer. Thatcher Demko expected to come back October 22nd. Dakota Joshua adding more forward depth, coming back eventually from the IR right now, as we said over the summer. He does have testicular cancer. We wish him all the well. And we did give him Hard Hat of the Week when that story broke. So Dakota Joshua also signed a 4-year deal over the summer. Well-deserved, well-earned, earned his keep over that playoff series against Nashville and Edmonton, respectively. So I think this team goes far. I think they have cup aspirations realistically. And the weakness here, I think after the first line of defense, maybe you're looking at a little bit of vulnerability. Maybe they look to shore that up come trade deadline. We'll see how it goes. But certainly this team is primed for the cup.
If that's your biggest concern, I think you're in a pretty good spot. I think you can almost say, like, lack in defensive depth is probably a worry for most teams across the league. So that's, a pretty common way to say, like, well, maybe things can always get better here. There's room for improvement everywhere. But you're right. I think they're a team. You look at, like, the real top favorites, Edmonton, people throw New Jersey in there. I'll throw Dallas in there. And then right below that, I think is the Vancouver Canucks. Like, you start looking at teams who are going to compete for multiple playoff rounds. Obviously, a lot can happen. It's very early right now, but they're my pick. I know it's so weird because these games start and Edmonton's 0-3, but yeah, I have them finishing second behind Edmonton.
Yeah, I've got them second as well. But it does appear visibly forwards check, goaltending double check.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think, and Quinn Hughes on the blue line, you could go ahead and throw a little check mark there as well.
Yeah.
So and we didn't even mention Rick Tocchet as the head coach. Jack Adams Award winner last season.
Yeah.
What a steal.
Big fan. Good home ice, presence there. It's on, like, you're getting a lot of teams traveling to Vancouver. That's not a great trip usually. So a lot of positive things. I know they kind of were dipped in productivity there for a few years, but I think they're going to stay right near the top.
Okay, Edmonton Oilers, we talked about. They have $1 million in cap space, largely in part due to the Evander Kane on the LTIR. Had a procedure done over this last season. Sounds like on a lot of different issues for multiple injuries that were nagging him all of last season. Their key forwards, no secrets here. 27 years old, Connor McDavid, $12.5 million. Leon Draisaitl signs his $8x14 million deal over the summer. He's 28. Look for him to have a monster season alongside his buddy, Connor McDavid. Zach Hyman's 32, $5.5 million. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is no stranger to Edmonton. He's 31, $5.13 million. They added a lot of.
He's 1 year older than me. I feel like he's been.
I feel like he's been in the league for 15 years.
I was in high school watching him.
They added a lot of depth. Victor Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner, and re-upped Adam Henrique after his playoff season or run with them this past season. That's a whole second line for them right there. And then Connor Brown on top of that brings a lot of depth that they probably didn't have last year. Now they don't have to lean so much on the scoring of McDavid and Draisaitl. Now they do have these other guys that can score as well. On defense, little more to be desired here. Darnell Nurse is 29, $9.25 million. No secrets there. That's one of the worst contracts in the league. Matthias Ekholm is 34 at $6 million. Big fan of his. Evan Bouchard, this kid's a stud. 24, $3.9 million. And Brett Kulak, 30 years old, $2.75 million. Want to mention this. Over the summer, they lost Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway via offer sheets to the St. Louis Blues. Found it very symbolic that Philip Broberg scored the first goal of the season for the St. Louis Blues. The assist from Dylan Holloway. Dylan, they'll probably get by with the pieces that they added at the Ford core. Philip Broberg, though, for their blue line, I think that's a loss that they're going to feel. This defense always leaves me a little shaky. It's certainly not what carried them to the Stanley Cup Finals.
But it's what changed. It's what changed significantly. like last year, not a great start. They started playing just better team defense across the board. You're right. Their blue line was not carrying them, but it got better. It got better enough to where then, your stars can take over. And again, it's early. It's 3 games into it. But right now they're playing like Edmonton, 3-4 seasons ago where defense was completely optional.
Right.
And again, I don't think it's the offer sheets specifically that are like the problem in losing those guys, but how they're playing right now is not indicative of a team that is taking anything seriously. Honestly, I mean, their best player is Corey Perry.
Yeah, that's valid. And they brought him back on a 1-year deal, $1.4 million.
And I don't hate him like some people, some hockey fans do, but if you look at this roster, you're like, well, who's going to be carrying them? He's very low on the list.
Grant, I don't know if you've noticed in this episode, we've had a theme that's kind of slid under the surface. It's the series on Amazon Prime. So this will be our final note on it. If you haven't watched it, go watch at least the last episode where they feature the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid's not breakdown, but show of loud leadership during the Stanley Cup run in the locker room. Very different angles on Mr. McDavid that will give you some perspective on where he's at. And I think he's going to come back this season with vengeance. And
that soundbite's just very funny to me, him yelling.
Yeah, it maybe was a bit awkward of a delivery. Maybe
yeah. He
didn't
seem like
hit.
A guy that yells a lot.
Right,
but,
Didn't have a lot of practice yelling at his team.
But maybe that matters. Maybe you're like in the locker room, like, oh shit, dude, Connor's pissed.
Yeah. Maybe it's one of those like, whoa, he never yells. Yeah. So we talked about the blue line questions in the playoffs as well. Goaltending has seemed to be a question mark too. And between Stuart Skinner or Calvin Pickard or somebody that they add along the way, they'll need one of those guys to be a consistent, solidified answer because we can't waste time anymore between McDavid and Draisaitl, 27 and 28. They won a cup. These guys deserve a Stanley Cup. They're 2 of the best players in the world. Can't waste time with subpar goaltending. And if that is their letdown, it's going to feel like we're just wasting years on a window here. So I think
then everybody loses.
True.
Yeah,
true.
But I don't know.
I've got them first in the Pacific. It's going to, in large part due to does their defense show up in the playoffs, and does the goaltending show up as well? Ford core was totally reinforced and already had massive weapons, as we said. So, yeah, Pacific Division is a lot of fun. I love the Anaheim Ducks had a great win out of the gate. A lot of fun to watch.
Yeah,
I'm really high on them. So it's going to be a fun division to watch.
I wish I was in your time zone a little more. That I'd be able to catch a lot of these games. Father Time's catching up to me, dude. It's tough. I tried to stay up for that Chicago Utah game. Saw like the first bits, new team and everything like that. But then I was out quick. So I owe it to our listeners and the fans to try to
just cover the Metro, Grant. Can't just cover the Metro.
When I was growing up, like I was like, man, obviously like East Coast bias, all these big sports networks they're in New York, but like the time zone part of it is still like that's a huge part.
Huge player. Huge.
Just like
yes.
Game starts at 10:30. I can't do this.
It'll say 10 o'clock on TNT, and damn well that face off isn't happening until 10:30.
Oh yeah,
because you got to listen to Bisonet and Henrik Lundqvist talk for at least 20 minutes before the game. Okay, you ready for the hard hats of the week?
Yeah, let's let it rip.
All right, hard hats of the week are sponsored by Leroy's Bar. Located in the heart of Worcester, Ohio, Leroy's establishment has provided cheap pitchers and a safe haven for all of the Fighting Scots of Worcester since 1969. Make your reservations today. Okay, Grant, mine's simple. Hard hat of the week is going to Sean Monahan, the first wearer of the donkey, the newest and brightest tradition in the NHL. We talked about the significance of that, honoring Johnny Gaudreau's life. If you haven't seen the video, go watch it. Sean Monahan gave a very emotional speech in the locker room after winning the donkey and beating the Colorado Avalanche on the road. I love this for Sean. obviously he came to Columbus for one reason, and that one reason was Johnny. And you could hear it in his voice. He still feels almost to me as if he's a stranger to the organization, and he thanked them so much for making him feel welcome. It's still new to him playing for this team, and I think he fits very well. So I'm rooting for him, and I thought that was a very cool moment. So he gets that hard hat of the week for me.
That is a great pick. I love that. Expanded on that a little bit. I mean, I think there's, again, I keep saying it. Everything's going to be through that lens. You know, for a lot of these guys, like, hockey is the normalcy that they probably need right now in their life. And Sean, buddy, Boone Jenner's out. We need you. Things are off to a good start. So, you know, if you could just keep playing well, it's great. I mean, we all win. So there's part of that of, like, you know, we just keep this going. That makes that kind of acclimation process, like, you know, way as smooth as it can be, with all things considered. And I'm really enjoying watching this team. Trent and I've gone, like, back and forth on, like, expectations. Like, you know, hockey's always a weird sport. You get optimistic. The news of you know, Boone getting hurt. We had some other injuries that really takes it down. I start looking at the lineup. I'm like, this just really isn't a good team. But then we're 2 games into this, and, you know, tough loss to start the year against Minnesota, but they're in it the whole way. And then crazy game on Saturday, where, you know, we beat the Avs and hang tough through kind of like an up and down game. And that's I think the biggest thing right now for me is, you know, these past couple of games, there's been moments where, you know, Minnesota takes the lead or the Avs tie it, where the past couple of years the Jackets would have folded, or they wouldn't have found a way to answer. And they're staying in it. And I think all the respect in the world to these guys for going out there. Tip of that to new coach Dean Evanson, because he's got them playing, like, very direct, and it's seemingly like we have a plan when we go out on the ice, which didn't always feel that way the past couple of years. So we're going to keep it in Columbus. This is a big Columbus hard hat day. Kent Johnson, kid's absolutely on fire. He's finding the back of the net. He's playing like he is wanting to prove. He's on a bridge deal right now. He wants to get paid the most he can. Shout out to him. He's a guy that's stepping up with a lot of ice time. And I'm really excited. Excited for the season opener is on Tuesday. I'm not, unfortunately, going to be able to go. Got too much going on between travel time and where I'm at. But I'm very excited. I'll probably head down they usually do stuff around the arena leading up to the game, make it kind of like a fun plaza event. Might try to talk to the girlfriend, at least make an appearance down there, maybe stopping into our bar, just seeing what the crowd's like, because it's in the air. It's, like, really cold in Columbus all of a sudden, so it feels like hockey season again. So it's been a lot of fun, and really enjoyed doing this show today, being able to talk about it, man. Always a blast.
Yeah, good to do our first video, folks. I promise next time around I'm gonna have a little bit of better lighting, and I'm gonna tee up my background a little bit, going, you know, more Kirk Herbstreit, Reese Davis vibes and College Game Day. I think those guys have a real nice setup, so we'll go with a little more class next time. This is my first time. We're dipping the toes in, you know.
We're
baby steps,
early steps of video content. We got some exciting stuff. Trent and I've been bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yep. Gonna get a whiteboard. Gonna get a whiteboard.
Yeah. So stay with us if you've been with us this far. We're really excited for everything.
Yeah, folks, it's here. It's October. It's wide open. Any team is still in it, obviously, maybe except for the Buffalo Sabres. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke.
We got a lot of Sabre fans, friends.
We do. We do. Sean Hackle.
Come after you. Yeah.
They are going to come at me. I work with one. He's very sensitive about it. But no, it's a lot of fun. Folks, thanks for sticking with us. Tune in. Next weekend, we're going to get right back at it. We've got a big week ahead of us. Rivalry games, jockeying back and forth in the standings. We love it. It's here. It's electric. We'll see you next week. We love you. Shit.
Good show.